This is Glow in the Dark Radio. The science fiction podcast with original independent science fiction written and performed by Mike Luoma, with music by Kevin MacLeod. The Vatican Assassin Trilogy and The Adventures of Alibi Jones by Mike Luoma are available in ebook, trade paperback, and audiobook wherever you find your books online. Get links and details at glowinthedarkradio.com. This is the science fiction podcast, Glow in the Dark Radio. I'm your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma, and I have Chapter 11 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Hur coming up on this episode. Kind of a shortish chapter this time around, just under 10 minutes. So it's going to go quick this time. But Alibi Jones just used the ancient enemy relic he's recovering, the Travel Chair of Enokata, to travel by thought. It let him visit Katie, Kit, Lavalore, Azamet, and his aunt Anita. Even let him visit the homeworld of the mysterious isolationist race known as the Devrisium. The Devrisium even seemed to perceive his presence. And Azamet certainly did. Azamet knew he was there and tried to trap Alibi. Tried to trap his energy, claiming that if he did, it would kill off his body wherever it was. Alibi just barely escaped. But Alibi has a deal with Finder, so he's brought the travel chair on board his ship, and he's on his way to see the man, on his way to see Finder, who is supposed to trade Alibi Jones, the Sunrise of Hur, for the Travel Chair of Enokata. We'll join Alibi as he meets up with Finder in Chapter 11 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Hur coming up on Glow in the Dark Radio. In book news, I have now got a Glow in the Dark Radio Substack. I've had an Ancient Stone Mysteries Substack for a while, but I'm going to get away from Medium pretty much entirely. So I moved a lot of my Medium archive over onto this new Glow in the Dark Radio Substack. And I'll be putting stuff out there on Substack, including stuff there. I put up earlier this week a video from when I got the Star-Lord and the Guardians of the Galaxy comic book years, unofficial comic book history paperback in. So it's your chance to take a look at that paperback as I unboxed it when it came in. So I'm catching up with stuff like that. I think this is going to be a little more active than the Medium site was, and maybe a little bit more interactive. But it won't be quite as in-depth as the Patreon, which gets you stuff. There is a paid level to the Substack, which patrons can access. So if you have the Glow in the Dark Radio Patreon, you can access the Substack for free. Which leads me to talk about the Glow in the Dark Radio Patreon. If you want to support Glow in the Dark Radio, you can do so for $2, $5, or $10 a month through our Patreon page. That is patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. And again, there's 3 different levels, 3 different tiers that get you different things, like early episodes. This episode, I believe, is going to be an early one. And it also gets you now that free subscription to the Glow in the Dark Radio Substack for the paid stuff. So there are perks to being a Patreon or being a patron through Patreon. Patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. Well, we'll get into Chapter 11 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Hur, part of the Adventures of Alibi Jones Chronological Omnibus, up next on Glow in the Dark Radio.
Wake up, go to work. Work. Come home. Eat dinner. Rot your brain out. Go to bed. Lather. Rinse. Repeat. Are you tired of an old humdrum life? Tired of things that just weigh you down and depress you? Wouldn't you rather just focus on things that are awesome? Tune into Nutty Bites. Find out what's awesome. Nutty Bites. nimlas.org/blog.
Now here's Chapter 11 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Hur on Glow-in-the-Dark Radio.
You won't regret this, Finder says, as Alibi walks down the beach with the man. Alibi doesn't answer. He looks out at the sea, watches the waves ripple in at low tide. The sun slowly descends towards the horizon. Another beach. At least he's consistent. Alibi landed the cruiser in Honolulu at Wentworth's instruction, with additional directions on how to find Finder on Waikiki Beach. Alibi tracked the man down in a dive bar near the zoo. When Alibi appeared, Finder broke off the game of chess he looked to be deep into with an old Hawaiian man. "Sorry, Moses. Gotta take care of some business," he told the old man. Finder then excused himself from the table, quickly crossed the bar, and grabbed Alibi by the arm, leading him out onto the sand, as if there might be folks in the place Finder didn't want seeing Alibi. Likes his sense of mystery, I guess. Once out on the beach, Finder led him out to walk along near the ocean's edge, away from prying eyes and ears. "Still not sure I should be turning it over to you," Alibi tells Finder. "Or your client, whoever they are." Finder betrays a hint of worry when Alibi mentions his client. But Finder plows ahead. "I'm going to have you drop it somewhere in deep space. My client gave me the coordinates." The disheveled beach bum trails off as he concentrates on rummaging through the pockets of his cargo shorts. He finally fishes out a small piece of paper. The deep space coordinates are handwritten, scrawled in black ink on the scrap. Finder hands Alibi the paper. "Drop the chair thingy at this point," Finder says. "Then come back here, and I'll give you the Hur artifact as soon as my other client confirms receipt." Alibi looks at the slip. Then he crumples it up and tosses it over his shoulder towards the water. Finder stops in his tracks. He looks over at Alibi, wide-eyed. Finder eyes the wadded-up note on the ground and then glances back up at Alibi. He stares at Alibi in silence, waiting for an explanation. Alibi lets him wait for a long minute before he explains. "I've already left the chair out there somewhere," Alibi tells him. "I'll give you the coordinates. Your other client can go find it and confirm receipt that way. I'm not going back out there. And I've got enough sense not to walk blindly into the clutches of whoever it might be that you've found that thing for. I've made some powerful enemies in my young life. Don't care to have any of them surprise me. Or vice versa. Let sleeping dogs die or something like that, right?" "Lie," Finder corrects him. "Let sleeping dogs lie." "Like I said," Alibi says. "You're taking a chance," Finder cautions him. Alibi laughs. "Not really. I can tell by your reaction. You've got someone a lot more powerful than me waiting for you to come through for them. I'm betting that your fear of them will make you see that I'm being completely reasonable." Alibi smiles at the man. Finder's lips form a frustrated frown. His brow wrinkles as he thinks the situation through. He shakes his head and his mangy head of hair after a minute's internal debate. He glares at Alibi as he answers. "Fine," he reluctantly agrees. "Give me the coordinates." Alibi's smile grows wider. "Good." He shows Finder the screen of his wand. "Here." "Shit, that does me no good," Finder growls. "Ain't got one of them things." "Really?" Finder again shakes his head. "Nope. Let's go back to the beach bar. You can write them down for me there." "Sure, fine, whatever," Alibi agrees. He follows Finder as he reverses direction. Back at the bar, Alibi writes down the coordinates and hands the paper over to Finder. Finder tells Alibi to stay put and wait for him. I gotta go back to my place and contact my other client, he tells Alibi. Explain the change in plans. Alibi frowns. His nose wrinkles as he hears Finder's demands. How long do you expect me to wait here? As long as it takes, Finder says. Great. When I come back, I'll have your item for you, Finder reassures him. That worth waiting for? Alibi brightens. Sure, guess so. I'll be back before closing time, Finder calls over his shoulder as he leaves the open bar. Alibi looks over at the bartender. When's closing time? Christmas. We're open 24/7, except for Christmas and Easter, the man informs Alibi. When's Christmas? Alibi asks the bartender. About 4 months from now. Great. Alibi decides not to drink. He wants to be able to fly out, unimpaired, as soon as Finder comes back with the Sunrise of Hur. Hard to believe I'm about to get my hands on it. He opts for settling into a padded lounge chair on the bar's open front porch, overlooking the beach. How strange to transit space with that travel chair. Azumet once told me there were no other humans like me out there yet. So maybe no one else can really use it. Well, except him. Wonder if the Laughing Array would have let him take it. Azumet wouldn't work with someone like Finder, would he? The thought of the hippie and the alien making deals makes Alibi laugh to himself. It's a nervous laugh. Azumet is still out there. And Azumet had almost had him in his clutches again. Azumet knew Alibi was there as he traveled in the chair. Thoughts of his travels lead Alibi to again think of Katie, imprisoned on Kismet. Once I've got the Sunrise of Hur back in the proper hands, I've got to at least try to get her off of Kismet. I know it's dumb, not supposed to go there, but there's got to be a way. Alibi watches the waves crashing in, relaxes with the pounding rhythm of the surf as he waits. The soothing sound lulls him to sleep as he sits. Alibi wakes with a jolt as something bounces off his chest and lands in his lap. There you go, he hears Finder say. Alibi blinks to clear his sleep-fogged sight, shakes his head to clear his groggy brain. His grasping hands find a box in his lap. He can't help himself. The sunrise— Shush! Finder cuts him off, shushes him. Sorry, just waking up, Alibi says, chagrined. Finder grins. No worries, he says, once again an amiable beach bum. Everybody got what they were looking for. You're a man of your word, kid. I'll give you that. So am I. So, there, he finishes, nodding at the box in Alibi's possession. He darkens a little as a thought crosses his face. Don't open it here, okay? He cautions. Alibi nods. I guess I've got to keep trusting you a little longer, huh? Alibi challenges the man. Alibi is fully awake now. Well, sure, I guess, Finder says. Just till you're back at your ship. I figure you'll be going there now, so not too much longer. Finder shrugs. Alibi gets up off the lounge chair, box in hand. Right you are. He begins to cross to the door of the bar to leave when a thought stops him in his tracks. He calls over to the bartender. Do I owe you anything? You're all set. You've been on his tab, the bartender says, nodding at Finder. Thanks, Alibi says. He looks back at Finder. Thanks again. You're welcome, Finder answers. Alibi rushes out of the bar. Finder shakes his head and chuckles. Everybody's happy, he says to himself. Well, almost everybody. One last client-to-client meeting to arrange. The bartender calls over. You talking to yourself again? Yep, I'm the only one who really listens to me anyway, Finder jokes. What? The bartender plays along. See what I mean? Finder grins. I'll see you later, Levi, he tells the man. Gotta head back to the hovel for a bit. Ciao, man. Finder leaves the beach bar and makes his way back to his rented condo. Once inside, he calls up a secure signal and requests private communication access to an orbiting station miles overhead. Mr. Wentworth, please. This is Finder. He's expecting my call. I have good news for him. Tell him I've set up his meeting that he wanted. He'll know what I mean. Thanks. An old but well-preserved face appears on the comm display in front of Finder. Richard Wentworth grins a wicked grin as he sees Finder across the comm's link. Hello, Finder. Hello, Wentworth. Finder greets his client. The alien scientist. He has what he wants? Wentworth asks. He does. He's agreed to meet with you, Finder says. He'll put you through the procedure you want. I'm sending you the details, where and when. Excellent. Jones came through for you, didn't he? Wentworth sounds smug, satisfied. Just like you said he would, Finder admits.
That was Chapter 11 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Hur on Glow in the Dark Radio. Well, hopefully Alibi Jones has the Sunrise of Hur in that box. We kind of switched point of view there at the end, head-hopped over to follow Finder. He and Wentworth certainly have their own agenda, or agendas, I should say. Wonder who that alien scientist is, huh? Well, we'll open the box with Alibi Jones in Chapter 12 of Alibi Jones and the Sunrise of Hur, coming up on our next episode. And a reminder, there is now a Glow in the Dark Radio Substack newsletter you can read at glowinthedarkradio.substack.com. And patrons get the paid level of that for free, automatically, for being a patron. And if you want to become a patron, find out more at patreon.com/glowinthedarkradio. You can do so for $2, $5, or $10 a month. And that is all for this episode. I am your host, your writer and reader, Mike Luoma. Thank you again for listening to Glow in the Dark Radio. Glow in the Dark Radio. This podcast presentation is copyright 2025 by Michael F. Luoma and is protected under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License, CC by NCND 4.0. Music by Kevin MacLeod. You can find his work at incompetech.com. Mike's books are available in ebook, paperback, and audiobook, wherever you find books online. Get links and more details at glowinthedarkradio.com and mikeluoma.com. This has been a presentation of Glow in the Dark Radio.